Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation reads like this. Hello my brother, how are you? Can you please post my story as anonymous? I am a woman who is aged 38 years old. My confession goes on like this. Let me start off by saying that the greatest gift that my father's elder brother gave to his last remaining son was that he was not buried in our village. I do not even know if you can understand what I am trying to tell you, my brother, but when he passed away, just before he had passed away, he made sure that you quickly returned back to the city where his son was staying. And if he had been buried in our village, because in our family, my father is the one who is staying at the homestead that was left behind by his own great parents. We are a family that has a very long history, and like in our culture, when a person dies, usually we bury them at the place whereby we have our fields. So in our village, at our homestead, my brother, there are a lot of graveyards. Sometimes when we joke around, we even say that this is like a hero's acre, because it is a very big space that is filled up with graves. And all of these graves, they are the graves of the people that die in our family. They are all buried in a single place. So growing up, my brother, I witnessed a lot of things that my mother did. Oh, my mother, my brother. My mother is a woman whom I can say indeed she is a witch. We have seen this as her children with our own eyes, that our mother, she is a witch. But what can you do, my brother, when you know that your parent is a witch? Growing up, me and my siblings, we used to see some strange wild animals. A wild animal that you cannot even describe if this animal is a hyena or if this is a lion. It will be more like a hybrid. You know, our country, most of the places, they are mountainous areas and they are evergreen. Late in the afternoon, just before the sun would go down, what our mother used to do is that she would sit at this other place. There was this other tree that was just standing all alone in our compound. She would go and she would sit underneath that tree. All that time when she will be sitting underneath that tree, she will be facing the area where are those graveyards. So in the direction of the place where she will be looking at, just after the graveyards, then you would head straight to the mountain. There is a very big mountain. Our village is surrounded by mountains, and when she will be looking at the mountains, it will be like she will be expecting something to climb down from the mountain. And my brother, indeed, we then found out that all the while, all of these years, our mother, she was indeed waiting for something to climb down from the mountains. And that was when me and my siblings saw that wild animal that we do not even understand. White people, they think that they are very clever. They think that the spiritual world is not real. But if you go to our country, my brother, in our village, if you speak with people, if you try to interview them about our family history, they will tell you a lot of stories that will shock the life out of you. As me and my siblings, one day we were watching our mother whilst she was speaking to herself in an unknown language. That was when we saw something that looked like a hyena, but at the same time this animal looked like a lion. It was climbing down from the mountain, and as it made its way from the mountain, it then rested as if it was waiting for the sun to go down, but it was resting at the place where there was those graves, the graves whereby all of our relatives, when they die, they are buried there. So after it was getting dark a little bit. Me and my siblings, when we were all gathered in the kitchen, because we had one of those round hut kitchens, that is the house, that is the room that we used to gather at night whilst we'll be preparing the meal. So we were just watching and looking outside, just pretending as if you had forgotten something, so that we can see if indeed there were some strange creatures that were going to come into our compound. That was when my brother went outside. When my brother went outside, we only heard him screaming. He only screamed once and he just collapsed, and he was making these scary sounds, the kind of a sound that he was making. If you take a chicken, then you slaughter that chicken, but you do not slaughter it properly, that chicken will start producing some scary sounds, that windpipe, if you do not slice it properly, whereby the chicken will still be living. There will be a lot of scary sounds that will be coming out of the chicken's windpipe before it would have died. Those were the sounds that were coming out of my brother's throat. When my mother heard this sound, it was as if she knew everything that had happened outside. She jumped from the bench where she was sitting. She then rushed outside and she started to insult my brother. She was just insulting someone that we could not even see. She kept on saying that, "Don't you have respect for me? Food I have given you, human meat I have given you. Have I not sacrificed even my unborn children?" What unborn children? All along, our mother, it seemed as if all the miscarriages that she had been sacrificing to that wild animal that we had seen just before sunset. So she kept on insulting whatever unseen creature that could only be seen by her. And after she had insulted the wind, that was when my younger brother started talking again. He then opened his eyes and he said that he cannot see, and my mother started insulting him as well, and she said, "Indeed you cannot see, because you have seen the things of the night. Who do you think you are? Don't you know that I know that you have been trying to see if there was anything that was going to enter into the compound? Now that you have seen it, what are you going to do?" She then returned into the kitchen where we were all gathered up, including my father, in a corner, and she kicked us out of the kitchen and she said, "Go outside." My father was so scared, he wanted to refuse, but my mother only looked at my father only once and he said, "Let's go outside." We then went outside, but we were just standing close to the door, just making sure that if that demon was going to return back into our compound, we were going to rush back into the house. What my mother did, my brother, I don't think that it is something that can be talked about on live on air, because the things that she did, they are more like a taboo. What she did is that my brother, she stripped herself naked. After she had stripped herself naked, she also stripped my younger brother naked. The rest is history, my brother, because it was just a taboo that happened on that night. After that, that was when our mother said that we were not supposed to mention all of those things that had happened to any of our friends. She used to say that if you tell anyone, that creature is going to come and it is going to make you go blind. So us being afraid of going blind, we made sure that we never told any of our friends. My brother, these are the things that we saw when we were still growing up. And after we were all grown up, my brother, that was when one of my father's elder brother passed away. So what used to happen in our family is that whenever someone will get sick, my mother, she used to pretend as if she was that woman who was kind-hearted, and she used to attend Roman Catholic Church. So she would say that I am going to pray for the sick. She would then visit that relative of my father that would be sick at that time. And when she would go there, we always knew that our mother would return back with that sick relative of our father. That is what happened to our father's elder brother. And what used to happen is that if anyone would come to our homestead when they would be sick, if they just die, whilst our mother was taking care of them, we used to witness our mother soon after everyone had returned back to our village. Our mother will then make a way to the graves late at night. That woman, my brother, she was not even scared of the graves. She used to go to the graveyard alone. And after our father's brother had came to the village, and the moment that he was taken out of this other car that they had rented, he then stopped talking. He could not talk anymore, and one could see that this man, by tomorrow, he would have already passed away. But by God's grace, he survived. Then the following morning, when he started talking, he then said to our father, all that you can do if you love me, please return me back to my children who are in the city. And in the end, that was when my mother started mistreating our father's brother. And after that, my father saw that the way that our mother was mistreating this sick man was not okay. That was when my father sold 2 of his goats so that he can manage to pay the bus fare for himself and for his sick brother. That was when my father returned back with his brother back to the city where his children were staying. And right now in the family, my father's brother, they think that my father is an evil man, because when he returned with his sick brother back to the city, they thought that my father had chased him away. But this was not so. This was the greatest gift that my father gave to them. Money my father did not give his brother's children, but I consider this to be the greatest gift that he ever gave to them, even though they do not even realize the spiritual victory that they got when their father was not buried at our homestead. Because I guarantee you, my brother, as far as I know and the things that I have seen my mother doing, what she does is that anyone who had their kids and anyone who was born into my father's family who was then buried at our homestead, what my mother does is that she regularly goes to the grave. I do not know if it is okay for me to tell you this secret, but my mother, she goes to the graveyards. I have this other cousin brother of mine. That cousin brother of mine, he is staying somewhere in Eastern Cape. So what my mother does is that she goes to the graveyard, to that grave that belongs to my cousin brother's late father. And when she goes to that grave, she takes some soil and she goes and she makes a fire, and she makes this fire outside. She usually does this at night. I once saw her doing this when I had returned back home to Zim for the Christmas holidays. She took that soil and she started roasting that soil on the fire. She just took something that looked like a metallic plate and she placed it on top of the fire, and she poured that soil that she had taken from the graves, and she just started mixing that soil whilst it was being burnt by the fire. After that, she then placed it to the side and she waited for the soil to grow cold. She then started reciting our clan name, and after she had finished reciting our clan name, she then started blowing that soil that she had taken from the grave in the direction of South Africa, and she was directing that soil so that it can come and cause trouble, a lot of trouble in my cousin brother's life. And as her children, there is nothing we can do. And as for our father, He is just there so that people can say that my mother, she has a husband. But when I look at my father, there is nothing that he can do, and there is nothing that he can do to stop our mother from practicing her witchcraft. She openly practices her witchcraft using the soil that she takes from the graves of our father's late relatives, and our father, there is nothing that he can do about it. As for me, my brother, and my siblings, we know for a fact that if our mother says, or if she sends you a message, and if she tells you that you are supposed to send her money, the first thing that you do the next morning is that if you do not have money, you run around and you borrow that money, and you rush to Ackermans or Pep and you send the money to her. You do not even ask her what is the money for. And I suspect that my mother placed the spirit of my cousin brother's father in front of him, so that wherever he goes, the first thing that people will notice is that spirit of his dead father, so that he can never achieve anything in life. He has nothing. Sometimes he struggles even to buy WhatsApp data, but he is a man who is working.